How's it going, Jeremians? In today's video, I will be teaching you about 10 tips on how to survive your first month when you are here working for the first time. It can be a really unsettling experience. It could be frightening as well. You are coming to a country you have not come here before. You might be taken advantage of. You are not aware of the surroundings. And basically, there are just way too many unknowns. And in this video, I hope to help you with these 10 tips that will help you survive your first month. So this video is not for those who are here on a very lofty expat package where all your lodging is taken care of for you. Your company may even assign you someone from HR to look after all your affairs and make sure you are comfortable where you are at. But this video is for those who are here on a local package and they have to try and survive on their own, find their own lodging, worry about food, groceries, and how to get around Singapore. And this is the video for you. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Jeremy C, and in my channel I make videos about music as well as life in Singapore. If you enjoy content like this, make sure you subscribe and smash that notification bell icon. My first tip has got to do with your lodging and your accommodation. For those whom your employers has already arranged lodging for you either in a hostel or in a dormitory, then that is settled and you don't have to worry about lodging and accommodation. But for most people who come here on a work permit, they will have to find their own accommodation and lodging, and the salary that is paid to you will include the amount that you should have to survive in Singapore. And because accommodation and lodging will pretty much take up a very big part of your salary, it is important that you make the right choices when you are looking for accommodation. Therefore, my very first tip to you is do not rush into getting your accommodation. Do not sign a contract for an accommodation before you are here in Singapore. What I would suggest is that you take up a very short-term accommodation in Singapore. For example, you could book an Airbnb for a couple of weeks. You could also stay in a backpackers hotel, in a hostel. You could also try and stay with a friend for a couple of days and try and look for a place that is suitable for you. You want a place that is not too far away from the MRT station, the train stations, the bus interchanges, and you want to make sure that there are facilities and amenities around the place that you're trying to rent. In addition, you want to also make sure that the place that you are renting is not so far away from your workplace that you will end up having to get up very early, and by the time you reach home from work, it is pretty late at night. So all these factors should be taken into consideration. One thing you might want to note is that the tenancy laws in Singapore is extremely favorable to the landlords. And the contract that you sign usually has a lot of terms that are favorable to the landlord. You want to be sure it's a place that you can stay for the duration of your contract and not having to break your contract in the middle of your lease, because breaking a contract in the middle of a lease is going to be extremely expensive. So another tip in relation to the lodging in Singapore is you want to make sure that there is a diplomatic clause in that lease agreement. So if you are someone who is coming in to work in Singapore, there may be a chance that you may not complete your contract, therefore you are not able to complete your lease, and you want to make sure that you do not forego any of your security deposit if you have to leave this country because you lose your job. So you want to make sure that in your tenancy agreement there is this diplomatic clause that allows you to break the lease without penalty if you are no longer able to work in Singapore. And for tip number 2, you want to make sure that you get a prepaid SIM card as soon as possible upon landing in Singapore. What the prepaid SIM card allows you to do is to be contactable by your employers and also be contactable by your family. So this SIM card would usually have a reasonable amount of data in there that you can also use to make sure you get around well in Singapore and not get lost. You can use it for Google Maps, and you can use it to access government amenities as well as functions. And therefore, this prepaid SIM card is going to be a very important and critical part of the items that you want to get the minute you land in Singapore. Tip number 3 that I have for you has got to do with your transport and your travel. So you want to get an integrated public transport card as soon as possible. You want to get an EZ-Link card because that allows you to move around very freely at a much discounted rate. The rate for paying cash and the rate for using an EZ-Link card, that is what we call our transport card here, can be as much as 50%. For the same card, you can take all kinds of different buses in Singapore, regardless of which operators are operating the bus service. You can take all the MRT trains in Singapore on the exact same card. In fact, the EZ-Link card is also a stored value card of some sort, so you can actually top it up with some value and you can make cashless payment at a lot of different outlets, like for example fast foods like McDonald's, etc. The fourth tip I have for you helps you to make sure you don't get lost in Singapore. What I recommend is you download this app called Citymapper. So what Citymapper does is that if you were to input your current location and you key in the destination that you want to go to, this app Citymapper is extremely useful in finding your way around. It will give you alternative routes as well as the cost of getting to your destination. It will also show you how much you need to walk to the nearest bus stop or to the nearest train station in order to get to the ride of your choice. The Citymapper app is a lot more comprehensive than the Google Maps app as of now, so you will definitely benefit greatly by downloading that app. Tip number 5 I have for you is to go download a Grab app. There's this app that is the equivalent of Uber in Singapore and in Southeast Asia, and it's called Grab. So this will be a lifesaver if you are in a hurry. If for example one day it is raining heavily and you need to be there for an appointment, you don't want to be caught in a situation where you're not able to call a taxi. One thing about Singapore is that although there is a very high number of taxis, it can be very difficult to get a taxi when it is raining or during the peak hours of the day. So you want to make sure that you are not caught and stranded without the ability to get to your destination quickly and getting into trouble with your employer if you need to be somewhere at a certain time. So download the Grab app. The other advantage of having the Grab app is that it shows your fares to your destination and it is a fixed fare. Therefore, you do not have to worry any of the taxi drivers trying to bring you on a round island tour to try to make the fares higher, because the fare is fixed and the Grab driver will almost always try to take the most efficient and fastest route to your destination. Tip number 6 that I have for you is to go explore your neighborhood and get lost in your neighborhood. What you want to do is to know where your supermarkets are, your convenience store, your wet market, your food centers, because that is going to take care of your daily necessities as well as your food options, because it may not be possible that you are cooking every single day. If you get home late from work, you might not have the time or the energy to cook, and you can find plenty of affordable food options in Singapore. You will also want to look for a public gym in Singapore or a public swimming pool, and these are usually very affordable. The public gym just costs $1 or $2 for you to enter depending on the time of the day, and the public swimming pool costs about $1 plus to make use of all the facilities in the public swimming pool. The quicker you are comfortable with your environment and the amenities around your workplace as well as the place you're going to stay, the quicker you're going to feel at home and just going to fit in very easily. Tip number 7 that I have for you is don't be afraid to make friends with locals. Do not just click and form little groupies with the people of your own country and your own nationalities, because after all, you are here for the long term. You're going to be here for a few years. You want to make sure that you can adapt well, and you want to have local friends who can help you when you are in need. So what I would recommend is be proactive. Take the first step. Go say hi to friends, colleagues, and just make yourself a friendly person. Generally, Singaporeans are extremely friendly and helpful, and they will not hesitate to lend you a helping hand and to make friends with you as long as you try and make the first step and break the ice. The locals would of course also be able to show you where are the great deals to shop, where are the nice places to eat, as well as teach you some phrases of Singlish, and you can communicate better with the rest of the people around you, and you are able to fit just right in. My tip number 8 is this: you want to be very sure with your employer what are your actual benefits and the terms of your contract. You want to be very clear about your job description. You want to be clear about your dental benefits, your medical benefits, your leave benefits, as well as the days that you'll be working, as well as your off days. So be familiar with Singapore's labour laws. Go on the Ministry of Manpower website, which is mom.gov.sg, and know your rights as an employee. Knowing your rights will make sure you are not taken advantage of simply because you are ignorant or you cannot be bothered to find out what is the actual scope of your work and your contract terms. Tip number 9 for surviving your first month is this: do not carry around your original passport and your original employment pass or work permit. If you lose any of this item, it is going to be extremely troublesome to replace any of this item, and it's going to cost quite a bit of money as well. What I would suggest is to go make a photocopy of your passport, especially the page with all your details, the front cover, the one that shows your photograph. You also want to make a photocopy front and back of your work permit and employment pass, and carry along these two documents with you at all times in case you are stopped by the police or immigration enforcement officers who are doing random routine checks. You are able to present those documents, and very often those documents are good enough. As you have guessed by now, I am filming by the seaside. This is East Coast Park, a very popular seaside place. It is a weekday here. It's a Friday morning, therefore you don't see a lot of people here, and it's very warm. That's why you see I'm sweating here. And I'm getting to my very last point, which is point number 10. Point number 10 is do not come to Singapore with very little money. You want to make sure that you have already saved up contingency money. You want to have at least $1,500 to $1,008 in contingency money that you will always have with you no matter what. And this is excluding your rental and your daily expenses. For the first month, you will not be paid on the very first day that you are here. So you have to make sure you have enough money to survive the first 30 days before you are being paid at the end of the month. So you will also need to make sure you have enough contingency money to place a security deposit with your landlord, as well as buy your prepaid SIM card and your food that you need to cook, as well as the money for getting around for the very first month. You will be making a very big mistake if you are coming into Singapore for the very first time and trying to survive with like $50 in your pocket. That is not going to happen because Singapore is a pretty expensive place. Yes, the salary here is higher than normal, but it is an expensive place, and you want to make sure that you're prepared for those emergency and contingency times where you will need some money. These are the 10 tips that I have for you today. I hope you found them useful, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.